Okay, here we go. All right, we are standing by. Yep. What is yet another beautiful day? And we are live. We are live right now. YouTube, X, and Facebook. Okay, there we go. Yep. Okay, we're live in 3 minutes. Folks, what's happening, excuse me, right now is it everything is already starting to crumble and nothing's even happened yet. The election was 1 week ago. And look at the results of it is really, really remarkable. Oh my God. How is this news? I can't believe what's being reported here. Okay, there we go. Oh my God. Wow. The lead story, a student at LaSalle Academy received a racist text message. They're all leading with it. Gee, I wonder what they're implying with that. As opposed to what? Things that are on Snapchat? Is that what we're talking about? All right, we are live, AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. In just a moment, yes, we're going to do Road Patrol Live later. Yes, we are. So we are standing by to get our cue from JR. The media, they love this type of story. A student at LaSalle Academy received a text message. Let me guess who they're looking to blame. At 106 on this Tuesday, November 12th, this is the real news. Yes, folks, good afternoon. Right now, we are live on AM 1380, also 99.9 FM. You can listen online at our website, which is depetro.com. We're also live video as well on all three, I should say, Facebook and YouTube and X. And this portion of the real news. Now, just a reminder, maybe you're thinking of a new kitchen or bathroom. Dreammaker, they're going to be at the Rhode Island Home Show coming up this weekend, November 16th and 17th at the Rhode Island Convention Center, booth 210. Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen. Your dream kitchen is waiting for you with Dreammaker. Folks, stop by and you get a chance to talk to them directly. Dreammaker, and they're going to be at the Rhode Island Home Show, booth 210, this Saturday and Sunday. You can call them for an appointment. Their beautiful design center right near Crown Plaza. It's Dreammaker, 401-433-7272. They're right down the street from Crown Plaza, and they are next to Kachai. Dennis and Christina, they're fantastic. Your dream kitchen is waiting for you with Dreammaker. Remember, one-stop shop. They take you from concept to completion. And with Dreammaker, it's respect, integrity, and customer focus. Experience upgraded living with your bath or kitchen remodel today with Dream Maker, and look for them this weekend and say hello to them. They're fantastic. Dennis and Christina, Dream Maker, they'll be at booth 210 at the Rhode Island Convention Center home show, which I'm glad they have one in the fall. It used to just be in the spring. Now it's the spring and the fall. It's Dream Maker. Well, folks, good afternoon. This is the Real News. Now, on to Petro.com. We have all the latest with Road Patrol. We have some more updates going up. Check out the website to Petro.com, which is brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge. They're waiting for you at the Coesit Inn. The election was a week ago. Already, things are ruminating, and already things are starting to come apart at the seams. Now, I want to touch on, I am going to talk about the situation with Governor Mckee. And it's so disingenuous. Folks, a challenge we're going to have, it's actually not a challenge. I'm going to view it as an opportunity. And I'll tell you why I'm going to view this as an opportunity. Because the rest of the media that is biased, and as much as the local media, there's many that I try to remain friendly with. They can't control. They are who they are. And just like this LaSalle Academy story that they're trying to push right now, it's passive aggressive. The whole reason that the local media is running with that, they consider this a news story, that a student at LaSalle Academy received a text message, because they're trying to link it to, see, this is what happens with Trump in office. This could have happened a week ago or 2 weeks ago. A student at LaSalle Academy reported Friday that one of many students, a racist text message invoking slavery. So how are they trying this? You've been selected to pick cotton at the nearest plantation. Now listen, there's all kinds of nonsense out there, but I'll tell you why the local media is really rolling with this. Who do you think they're trying to tie that into? Of course, they're trying to tie it in to that. This is what happens, that Trump won and blah, blah, blah. And this whole, that's what it's about. There's no other way to that you should not interpret it that way. Now, Governor Healy, the governor of Massachusetts, took shots at Congressman Seth Moulton. She has released statements now. And this all has to do with Seth Moulton. And I played the comment. He is a Democrat in Mass, a military veteran. And he is saying, listen, it's not easy. As a father of two girls, I can see why, this was his comment, why people are hesitant to let boys, or those who identify as boys, play girl sports. And there's an eruption about it. And people want him to resign and so forth. And Governor Healy talked about it. But I want to start off with, so Tom Homan is the new border czar. And for those of you that have, well, actually, we've had him on Facebook. If you've followed the show for several years, every September, I would go to D.C. and we called it either Juan Goes to Washington or JD in D.C. And every year, starting in 2016, they even did it after the pandemic. And then they didn't do it last year, and then they didn't do it this year. But that was a good run of 8 years. And that, especially during the Trump administration, that's where, I had an opportunity to go to the White House. I had an opportunity to ask President Trump a question at the White House. I was on the South Lawn with Sheriff Tom Hodson. I mean, it was fantastic. But even after that, every year for about, I think I went first time in 15. So 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So 8 years running, every time I would interview Tom Homan. And so, after a while, every year, you kind of get to know each other. And he told some remarkable stories. He knows a lot about our military. But anyhow, he has been picked. And what needs to be understood is the Trump administration, the transition team, they have been working for 3 months now. They are ready to hit the ground running. They're far more prepared to be president than they were back in 2016. Far more prepared. And you can already tell they're already ready, as I said, to hit the ground running, but they've been working behind the scenes. Something else, their poll numbers told them, and you'd hear the media say the Trump people seem very confident, but as far as we're concerned, it's very, very close and blah, blah, blah. My point is, he's picking people who are competent and are ready to start rolling day one, and they're going to start putting things in motion. Now, Tom Homan, who again, he is a tough guy. If you've ever seen Breaking Bad, he reminds me kind of the character Hank. Just tough as nails, good guy, straight shooter, but very, very knowledgeable. And he is taking no prisoners. And what you need to understand is there is a problem. There is a problem that this turns out to. There are some cities that people run, it's a sanctuary city. Now, everyone points to Providence as a sanctuary city. And as I have told you, where I believe that is inaccurate is there is no difference that I am aware of. And I talk with law enforcement, and you see me out there every night, that there is no difference between someone who's a suspect, who's how they're treated in Providence, compared to how they're treated in Pawtucket, how they're treated, in Central Falls. So I know, for instance, Governor Mckee was on his segment, Protect the Governor, on WMKRO, and was asked, is Providence a sanctuary city? And Mckee said, I don't know, as if he doesn't know. And then he was asked by his pal, is Rhode Island a sanctuary state? No, not. I mean, they'll never come out and say it, but there's evidence that's out there. Now, a challenge in some ways that the state has, and we have as people, a challenge is going to be that, I'm also seeing police investigate racially insensitive graffiti at Attleboro Elementary School, Channel 10. Folks, the local media, they're just ready to run with as many stories where they're trying to say, see, this is a result. Trump's the president. Look at all this racial stuff that's happening. I mean, I'm going to play in a moment this Channel 10 piece that, anyone that, I don't watch them in the morning. I know both of the hosts, Mario Hilario and Allison Bologna, and some of the people work behind the scenes. Listen, who do you think they voted for? Who do you think they voted for? So it's like not even close. So therefore, it takes on a different tone with their news coverage, and they really can't hide it. But the part that I want to get to is Governor Mckee, the Rhode Island governor, and I want to get his actual statement because now he's out and about. We'll see if the media asks him if there's any audio of this. But what Mckee has said is basically that the state of Rhode Island, of which, and I have no idea why the Rhode Island Republican Party, why they don't talk more about this, that he runs it as a sanctuary state. Case in point, driving privileges for people that aren't citizens, that's going away. That is absolutely going away. So the point is, Mckee has a track record where he won't cooperate already with ICE. And what I don't think gets covered enough is the fact that, keep in mind, with some of the individuals that they're talking about. So you have situations where you have a child molester from another country and he's in custody, and Governor Mckee instructs that person should be released. And the local media, what I have a problem is they won't go inside. They just run with his statement, and they don't in any way push back on what his statement is. So this business, I'm seeing it now. Rhode Island leaders don't support Trump's mass deportation plan. Now, Tom Homan, the way this actually should be asked, as this story is taken across the, going on across the country, but the way that the question, as I've said, should be asked is, but are they willing to forfeit? Are they willing to forfeit federal funding in order to carry that agenda? Now, if that's the case, well, then that's that's a pretty bold statement. And on top of that, not only is it a bold statement, but what about you, the taxpayer, that you're supposed to get some of that money from the federal government, and your governor, our governor, won't refuses to budge protecting criminals, and as a result of that, the state won't be getting federal money it's deserved. But what I'm telling you right now is Mckee, and this actually goes for Mayor Smiley, they're not prepared to go into this type of battle. And hear me out. I want to stay on schedule here. There's also a reporter at Channel 10, Abby Buddha Cavoli. I don't know who she is, so she must work in the morning. But her report that she filed on this, it's so insulting, and it's just I can't believe. But this is Channel 10. This is what Channel 10 is in the morning, which is morning wokeness with these people. That's who they've become. And they can't even hide their disdain. But I want to get to that in just a moment. But folks, I want to remind you about AJ Drywall Plasters Home Improvement. Call them today, 401-323-9252. AJ Home Improvement, 401-323-9252. Frame to finish basements, acoustical ceilings, new homes, additions, commercial rehabs, painting, remodeling. They do it all. It's AJ Home Improvement. Call them today, 401-323-9252, 401-323-9252. Look for them on Facebook. What I want to touch on is the governor's statement. Governor Mckee, Rhode Island leaders have said they're not going to support the deportation plan. Now, folks, what's so disingenuous, just the way this is being reported, is Tom Homan, who's the new border czar coming in, what he has said is, right now, as we speak, at 1:20 on this Tuesday, there are illegals committed serious crimes. They're at Rikers Island in New York, and they won't allow them access to them. Those individuals should be deported. After these people finish whatever time they're locked up, they should absolutely be deported. They shouldn't have been in here in the first place. But that's what one of the things they're talking about. They don't get access to that. I've talked about, you have a murderer. There's a lot of child molesters. They get out of court, and ICE Boston signifies, hold them. We're on our way down. What did the Mckee administration do? They release them. They instruct the ACI, let them go. That has to come to an end. But what I really take exception to is, and I'll play the sound, but Mckee added, first of all, Mckee said he's committed to ensuring the safety of Rhode Islanders. If that was the case, would he really allow driving privileges for people who have not been vetted and are in here illegally? The answer is no. If he were really concerned about ensuring the safety of Rhode Islanders, he wouldn't have unvetted people who don't follow the law, who come in here. We have no idea who they are. If he really wanted to ensure the safety of Rhode Islanders, he wouldn't operate that way. Folks, the state's going to be more of a magnet now. But here's the part that, here is Governor Mckee. So the state police are not immigration officers, Rhode Island State Police, and will, quote, not spend any time and resources to support mass deportation efforts. My response to that is, they are immigration officers. That is a disingenuous statement. That's not an honest statement. Well, I'm not going to turn our state into immigration officers. You already have. when they have to stop cars on 95. And by the way, Mayor Smiley, same way. Providence police are not immigration officers. I'm out there every night. Yes, they are. Both of their statements are wrong. How many times on road patrol do we get the call? Spanish speaking officer needed. How many times they're going in and they have a call? No one speaks English. No one has legal ID. We had the standoff in Cranston on the Friday night. I don't know, when was that? September? I think in September. Do you remember the 7 of them? They had the Spanish speaking officer from Providence come down and speak in Spanish through the bullhorn, and 7 of them had to come out with their hands up. None of them had IDs. My point is, Governor Mckee, all of them, as a matter of fact, you have turned our local police into immigration officers. Law enforcement, they'll go into an apartment, just as an example, in Pawtucket or Central Falls, really anywhere. But anyhow, so they get called. A neighbor says, I think I hear a disturbance coming from apartment, blah, blah, blah. So what do? They have to go and knock on the door. Now they're police. They're in the apartment. No one speaks English. No one has an ID. You know, there was a police officer that told me this. There were 2 guys, I won't say what city, that were making them very uncomfortable. Nope, they don't have an ID. They don't speak English. Now, it turned out, later they found out, both of these 2 individuals were dangerous gang members, wanted for homicide in Venezuela. I think in Venezuela. There was another example where they were from Honduras. My point is, when Governor Mckee says, Rhode Island Governor Dan Mckee, well, our state police on immigration office, well, you actually have turned them into that through his actions. And I know I could go after Smiley, but it's really the state. Chafee switched the state to be a sanctuary state. And that's what really kicked it off. But for them to say, well, we're not going to make our police immigration officers, you already have done that. Now the question is, they're not going to cooperate. Now, I can tell you, the Trump I'm telling you right now, and this is the local media won't even ask them about it. They're going to withhold federal funding. And it is laughable how dependent the state is and all the cities and towns on that federal money. The state of Rhode Island can't afford to lose any federal money. Now, Mayor Smiley just had a press briefing that the school system is a disaster. They just keep demanding. It's a bottomless pit of money that they want. Folks, half of the schools in the city of, there's so much that the media won't talk about. They want to cover that the students are going to walk out. Half of the schools in Providence are at 50% occupancy. Half of the Providence public schools, not the charter schools, the traditional public schools, half of them are 50% vacant. So normally they should close half of the school. Well, you can't close half the schools. Why? Because all of the union members have no layoff clause. Nope, can't get rid of them. It's ludicrous the amount of money they're blowing through. It's also selfish and irresponsible. But I want to play this report that Channel 10 aired, and then you tell me if you hear, I mean, I can tell bias. I can hear when someone doesn't want to come out, but they're actually being very biased. But before I do that, I want to remind you about Kids Club on the Pike. Folks, Kids Club on the Pike, birthday parties, before and after school programs, preschool programs, they're located right on the Cranston-Johnston line. Kids Club on the Pike, birthday parties, preschool. It's clean. It's easy to get to right off of 295, right on Plainfield Pike on the Cranston-Johnston line. Kids Club on the Pike. I share their Facebook videos that are tremendous. And this is where you can have a birthday party or a teen party. It's built for youth. Kids Club on the Pike. Even if I used to coach youth sports, and at the end of the season, all right, we're going to have a pizza party. And then the kids start running around the pizza place. Kids Club on the Pike is designed for children, for youth, as young as 2 years old to 14 years old. Kids Club on the Pike. All right, I want to play this Channel 10 piece. By the way, as far as the Providence Public Schools, as much as we could all say, I'm sure you're saying, well, I don't send my child to that school. I get that. I'm sure. I certainly, my kids are older now. My children are older. However, the state gives Providence over $300 million in funding. And a huge number of students in the Providence Public Schools. How do you think they got here? Why is it that at home the parents don't speak English? Take a wild guess. That is exactly right. Each pupil, minimum $20,000 it costs, plus free breakfast, plus free lunch, plus all the after-school programs, plus going to the nurse's station and so forth. So let's listen, though. This is the Channel 10 piece regarding Mckee.
Rhode Island state leaders say they will not support
Allison,
President-elect Donald Trump's mass deportation plan. He's already named his
huge Harris supporter.
NBC 10's Abby Benicavoli is live in Providence with a look at who specifically is not supporting this plan. Abby, good morning.
I don't know this reporter.
Allison, good morning. Mayor Smiley and Governor Mckee share a very similar message. They say they do not back Trump's mass deportation of undocumented immigrants.
Hold on. The reporter, would it how can I say this? How do you not refer to him as president-elect? I don't like this out of the box. This Abby, whoever she is, I don't even know who this is. How about little respect? Right? She jumps in with the President Biden. She jumps in with the Vice President Harris. See, right away, the cheap disrespect. They don't support Trump's plan. Okay, how about like a little dignity and respect? Right? Would it kill you to refer to him as President-elect Trump? This is Channel 10 in the morning. It's so cheap, but there's a reason behind it. There's no way, like, these people are letting you know who they voted for without telling you who they voted for. So, all right, let it continue. But that jumps out at me right away. The blatant disrespect. Channel 10 in the morning, no producer says, all right, listen, change that to president-elect. Now, there is a time where she says president-elect. They must have snuck that in. It's so disrespectful. It's so cheap. It's done by design. And the fact that Channel 10, where have you gone, Doug White and Frank Coletta? The fact they allow this, because behind the scenes they're high-fiving. That's right. Now listen to this piece.
Immigrants. Now the president-elect promises to launch the largest deportation.
All right, she did say president-elect there, but still, it should be president-elect Trump. All right, listen to what she takes away from the campaign. I mean, I can't believe. Normally, people think of the bias nationally. This is Morning Woke on Channel 10 with Mario Allison.
Program in American history to get what he calls criminals out. He continued to call undocumented people vicious and bloodthirsty criminals, promising to put them in jail and then kick them out of the country as fast as possible. In a statement,
what are you talking about? On the campaign trail, they talked about securing the border. Yes, he would talk about what happened to Lake and Riley, what happened with those women in Texas, what happened in Colorado. That is not what he was saying on the campaign trail. Whoever this Allie, whatever her name is, Abby. On the campaign trail, Trump said all illegals are vicious. He did not say that. Why is Channel 10 lying in this? He didn't say that. Here's the problem. Whoever this Abby is, and Mario and Allison, they still don't understand why Harris lost. This person is like depressed giving this report. Well, on the trail, he called. No, he didn't say that. They talked about vetting people. They talked about President Trump would routinely say, yes, we want people to come in, but they have to follow the process and we have to vet them. And ideally, they're placed into a job. You can't just have a bum rush to get in here. On the campaign trail, he referred to them all. No, he didn't. Team you trust. Morning Woke on NBC 10. Who is this? I don't even know who this person is.
Undocumented immigrants. Now, the president-elect promises to launch the largest deportation program in American history to get what he calls criminals out. He continued to call undocumented people vicious and bloodthirsty criminals, promising to put them in jail and then kick them out of the country as fast as possible.
They were very clear about the MS-13 gang, about the gangs that took over the apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado. This reporter for Channel 10 just blanks it. Oh, he's saying that about everybody. No, they're not saying that about everybody. All right, now here we go.
In a statement, Governor Dan Mckee says he's committed to ensuring the safety of Rhode Islanders. Mckee added state police are not immigration officers and will not spend any time and resources to support mass deportation efforts.
They already are. They're already acting as what role does Mckee and Abby think that he plays when the Rhode Island State Police have to pull someone over who doesn't speak English and has one of those driving privileges cards that aren't available in many other states?
Mayor Brett Smiley has a similar message.
Our policy is that the Providence Police Department are not immigration officers.
They are. They already are. So that horse has left the barn. You can't say that they are already operating in third world conditions, much like Pawtucket and CF. They are. So don't act like it's going to start. It's already happening. Now it's just a matter of whether you're going to allow it to continue or they're going to try to rein it in.
Not been, they will not be. And so if you are going about your business, otherwise law-abiding citizen, just trying to make a better life for you and your family.
All right, hold on. Notice Channel 10 does it. They're not citizens. Law-abiding citizen. They're not citizens. They're not citizens. Why would he even...
Have not been, they will not be. And so if you are going about your business, otherwise law-abiding citizen.
They're not citizens. They're not even renters. They're squatters, basically. See, and notice Channel 10, no pushback. No pushback. Let it continue.
Trying to make a better life for you and your family. You have no reason to be concerned here in Providence. And depending on what happens at the federal level, we will adjust and react accordingly. But I'm going to wait to see what that is before we make any changes in policies or procedures.
Okay. Here's a real obvious question. How far are you willing to push it? So are you going to refuse federal funds? Is that what you're willing to do? How far is this going to go? McGree doesn't have two nickels to rub together. He thinks he's going to get $500 million for that bridge. Not happening. So in other words, the American citizen taxpayer gets pushed to the back burner and we have to cater to the new arrivals. Listen to how the NBC 10, this Abby Cavuli, whatever, finishes the report. She's seething with hatred for President Trump.
Now, Trump can direct his administration.
President-elect Trump.
Happens at the federal level, we will adjust and react accordingly, but I'm going to wait to see what that is before we make any changes in policies or procedures.
President-elect Trump.
Now, Trump can direct his administration to act immediately the minute he gets into office on this mass deportation plan. But the actual scope of deporting nearly 11 million people believed to be undocumented in this country, well, that'll take quite a lot of time. Trump takes office in 3 months.
President-elect. Listen, we are Abby Buddha Cavoli, whoever that is. would it kill her to show a little respect? President-elect Trump. Now listen, why don't we start with the 500,000 criminals that have committed violent crime in other countries? Why don't we start with them before we start talking about, as Mayor Smiley calls them, citizens? See, that goes to, and I'm going to play it in a moment. I was at the press conference. This goes back to when there was a story in the Boston Globe how Rhode Island basically fabricated the census. They were able to keep one of the congressional seats. And what they found was they put into the mix all the illegals that are living in the state and counted them. And then the next time that they have to do the census, I can tell you right now that's not going to be allowed, that was snuck in. Raimondo told them to sneak that in. So, but I want to play because there was a big story about it at the time in the Boston Globe. And this was a time that I was, at the time, I was going to, Mckee was new. And I thought, okay, I'll give him a chance. He's a new guy and I'll go and so forth. And then, after a while, though, I just have to weigh, is it really worth it? But I'm going to play what Matto said. See, this is where I'm telling you the local media, they won't push it. But I'm going to play for you what Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos, who, just so you know, at 139, the rest of the press won't talk about it. She's decimated. She was going to Pennsylvania every weekend, for long weekends, campaigning for Harris. Lieutenant Governor Matos was trying to get a job with the Harris administration. And now that's not going to happen. And now she's just an incompetent, unpopular lieutenant governor with $5,000 in fundraising. There's no way she's being reelected lieutenant governor. Let's just deal in reality. But before I play, this was an exchange that I had with her. And it was, I'll check the date on it, but I think it was 2 years ago. It might have been 3. It may have been 3 years ago. It may have been 3 years ago. But anyhow, folks, remember Watson Materials, largest selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island is Watson Materials. Call them today, 401-885-0600. Watson Materials, request a quote, 885-0600. Watson Materials, the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island, landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone, decorative stone. Watson Materials, the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island is Watson Materials. Call them today. Look for them on Facebook, 401-885-0600. I think it was May 4th, 21. All right. Listen to my back and forth where Sabina Matos, the lieutenant governor, and she uses the term citizen. And I want to just give you the context here at 141. She's putting forth the notion, the contention, if you will, that when someone lands at TF Green Airport on a flight from, let's just say as an example, Guatemala, she claims the moment they land at TF Green, boom, they're a Rhode Islander. Now, I would argue you're a tourist, right? You're visiting. How many people, just as an example, they went to Nantucket for the summer? That doesn't make them a resident of Nantucket. They went to Block Island for the summer. They're not a resident of Block Island. They were there for a couple of months. Maybe you have a beach house in Narragansett. You live in Smithfield. Well, maybe for the summer months, you're a resident of Narragansett, but it doesn't make you a Narragansett resident. Well, the same way, conversely, when someone lands at TF Green Airport or comes here on a bus from New York, her contention is the moment they get here, they're not. And it doesn't make sense to use the word citizen. Like, we don't use those words. It's Mayor Smiley, you're a minding your own business, hardworking citizen. You could say resident, And I would even, scoff at that. Right now, Providence is filled with students that are living in Providence that attend Providence College. They attend J&W, Johnson & Wales. They attend Brown. They attend RISD. Are they Providence residents? Well, during the school year they are, and maybe they vote there and so forth. And maybe some of the kids that get apartments, they really become residents. But by and large, they're just here for that. So, but let me play the difference between a resident and a citizen, because in this Boston Globe story, she intimated, oh no, these people, they're Rhode Island citizens, which there's no such term. You're an American citizen and you're a resident of Massachusetts, or you're a resident of Connecticut or Rhode Island or Texas or wherever. So let me play this. And I think the quality is pretty good.
To ensure no Rhode Islander was left out of the critical count. So it is your contention.
All right, she was quoted in the Boston Globe saying to ensure no Rhode Islander was left out of the count. No Rhode Islander was to be left out of the count. So I was thinking, okay, but they're talking to people who are clearly who are new arrivals, foreign lands, if you will. So, but I want to play this because it's very pertinent to what's going on.
To ensure no Rhode Islander was left out of the critical count. So it is your contention that everyone that was counted is a Rhode Islander.
Yes, everyone.
Let me stop this for a moment. I don't think there's two words that I found she doesn't understand. Now, in all fairness, I recognize English is her second language. She doesn't understand when I say it is your contention. And she also doesn't understand when I say the word distinction. She has no idea what I'm talking about. Maybe she'd be able to, if she read it, she could. But in the course of going to these press briefings and questioning her, I realized she actually didn't know a lot of the phrases or words, if you will. And it's not a matter of intelligence, and it's not even a matter of vocabulary. English is her second language. If she's reading something, maybe she has a way to look it up. If she's talking one-on-one, or like I said, but in this setting, I knew she was going to be terrible in the debate stage. Listen to her process when I say, you're saying there's no distinction. So, all right, here we go.
Is a Rhode Islander.
Yes, everyone that lives here in the state of Rhode Island is a Rhode Islander.
And would you say that there was a citizen that distinction for being a Rhode Islander?
I consider the citizens of the state of Rhode Island as they live in the state of Rhode Island, yes.
I mean, that, and no one said anything. No one said anything. Rest of the press and so forth. I consider them to be a Rhode Island citizen. There's no such thing. You're an American citizen. You're a Canadian citizen. You're a German citizen. Whatever country. Citizen is of origin. Yeah, they're Rhode Island citizens. They're inventing words and phrases. But what I'm telling you is, if there's any group that is unprepared and cannot afford to lose any federal money, it is the group on Smith Hill. Absolutely. Oh, wow. I'm just reading this in real time. Projo will close its Kinsley Avenue printing facility due to a lack of parts. Printing contracts have been seen as part of what kept the paper healthy. Weekly print circulation has fallen to 18,000 copies. You know, as I stated, I attempted to read a hard copy of the Providence Journal last week. Important revenue producer. They're going to close the printing facility. And it gave me a headache from doing it. If there are people that still physically read the manual paper, then good for you. But all right, I want to touch on the Maura Healey thing. But folks, just hear me out, you know, and this is really important. And I notice, remember, it's not just what the person, Governor Mckee and Mayor Smiley say. It's what the press says to them back. So right now, Governor McKee and Mayor Smiley, they're talking tough talk. And we're not going to Okay, well, Tom Holman is also a tough guy, by the way. And he's pretty fearless. And he doesn't pull any punches. And when he says, that, listen, I'm the border czar, and this type of thing isn't going to be tolerated, I have a feeling he means it. As a matter of fact, I know he means it. So, they can do a lot of tough talk right now because that's all it is. I mean, if there's anyone who's spineless, it's Mckee. So, but Tom, you think he hasn't heard this before? You think he hasn't had a Democrat mayor or congressman who says, well, we're not going to cooperate? So does this guy sound like, I'll tell you right now, he's not fooling around. These Democrat governors with the sanctuary cities and so forth, well, we're not.
Local law enforcement assist us because, one thing we learned during 9/11 report was we should have stovepipes. Law enforcement should work with law enforcement. But, there's two things. Number one, under President Trump, he was suing the sanctuary cities, DOJ suing the sanctuary cities, pulling federal funds. Of course, day one, when Joe Biden came in office, he stopped that lawsuit. So that has to be put back in place. And look, I've seen some of these Democratic governors say they're going to stand in the way. They're going to make it hard for us. Well, a suggestion. If you're not going to help us, get the hell out of the way, we're going to do it. So if we can't get assistance from New York City, and we may have to double the number of agents we send to New York City because we're going to do the job. We're going to do the job without you or with you. But it's much easier to arrest it back. Like I just said, we're concentrating on public safety, protecting human and national security.
President Trump has already said on the campaign trail that they're going to withhold money from sanctuary cities. Now, right now, Providence is a dumpster fire, so to speak. Students gather outside. They're going to walk to City Hall. Lack of funding. There's plenty of money. It's where the money goes. Those kids are being used as pawns, and the media shouldn't even cover it. Providence mayor is furious. The court decided the city has to pay this bottomless pit of money. Where does all the money go? It's unsustainable. We can't close it. The city may have to pay anywhere from $10 million to $85 million. When Gina Raimondo was the governor, she said there's no funding problem in the city of Providence. There's no funding problem. The problem is the teachers' unions and the demands and the teacher union. Raimondo said across the nation, Providence especially is one of the highest funded school districts for its size and background and well compensated. Raimondo said, if I thought for 1 second it was about money, I think at one point the Providence schools were the 5th highest paid teachers in the entire country. Someone may say, well, why aren't they the highest paid? It's not a matter of that. You're talking about New York City, you're talking about Chicago, you're talking about Los Angeles, you're talking about Atlanta. I mean, you're talking about big districts. So it's not a matter of funding, but the money is wasted. So now I'm going to touch on Governor Healy before our time is up. But folks, I want to just stay on schedule. And I want to remind you, if you're looking for someone to either trim branches or pick up your leaves for fall cleanup. Now, remember, JD Lawn Care. Contact JD Lawn Care today. And I'm going to give you the phone number in just a moment. But especially right now, maybe you have some kind of big job as far as getting, as I've said, branches trimmed for a winter storm. You don't have trees and branches coming tumbling onto your property, or maybe it's just a matter of fall cleanup. JD's Lawn Care and Tree Service. Call them today, 401-441-0154. Do you need someone to come to your home or business and pick up all those leaves? JD Lawn Care and Tree Service, 401-441-0154. Or maybe you have some trees that need to be trimmed back. JD Lawn Care Tree Service, 401-441-0154. So Seth Moulton is a congressman in Massachusetts. And Seth Moulton was speaking to the New York Times. And, they're all now turning on each other. It's great to actually watch how they're upset that Harris lost. And they're upset with a big part of it that broke through, as we talked about with Donna Perry, is you have parents that maybe they're not political. You have, men, women, and they're at, especially, you saw it in Massachusetts, they're at a girls' field hockey game. And suddenly someone somehow points out that the player on the other team, who's very aggressive, who's scoring a lot of the goals, who's rough and even harming some of the opponents on your team, wow, that player looks kind of male. And then you learn that his name was Steve, and then he changed it to, whatever, Stone or River or some androgynous name, and he grew his hair out, and now he's on the girls' field hockey team. And as you're sitting there watching your daughter or your niece or your sister or whoever lose, you had parents saying, well, why, what is going on here? And then the same thing, whether it was swimmers or in track, you saw it in the Olympics. Women started posting. I went to Planet Fitness, and suddenly there was a man shaving in the ladies' room. That happened at the Planet Fitness in East Providence. And Planet Fitness said, well, we're a non-judgment zone. And then the woman said, well, why is he allowed in here? Well, he identifies as a woman. And the woman said, he's a dude literally shaving in the ladies' room. And so I had predicted that this was not something that was going to go away, and it didn't go away. So Seth Moulton said, as a father, yeah, it's concerning when I see that my daughters are dealing with this whole thing of it's not safe for them. And he started to say, and the backlash that I've been getting since I said that, and he said this whole thing of the purity test. He was saying, the backlash I've received. So now you have Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey. Well, that comment was playing politics with people. We shouldn't do that. We should have real conversations and not play politics with people, particularly young people and folks who are vulnerable. So that's the governor. Now, we need to have a discussion on issues. She is tone deaf on it. She's not realizing that President Trump won with suburban white women. And all we were being told was that Harris was going to win. The battle was for the suburban women, and they hated Trump, and they worshipped at the altar of Liz Cheney. How many of those suburban white women that voted for Trump, who the media kept telling you they can't stand him and they hate him and they want all these things, how many of them said, I don't, this doesn't make sense. My daughter's on the track team, and we went, she's dedicated, and she came in third. And the runners that came in first and second last year, they were on the boys track team, and they grew their hair long, and they changed their name from Rob to Rose or to Petal or whatever. And how is that fair? The far left, the supporters of women, they abandoned women. They abandoned girls. They allowed that male swimmer in college at UPenn and pretended as if that was okay. Because, the fact of the matter is none of it makes sense and none of it's okay. And so what I think is so big that the Democrat Party didn't get was what parents were seeing play out. Maybe it's a woman that experienced at a gym. And she said to her husband, listen, I don't want to get into a shouting match. I don't want to get into a confrontation. I go to the gym. I went to use the ladies' room, and there's a guy in there changing because he identified they brought it to the gyms. They brought it to this whole thing of the pronouns and the people getting upset. They brought it to someone traveling, and they watched someone have a meltdown because the person said, ma'am, hold on, said, you're misgendering me. I talked about it, William Hall Library. Where Rhode Island really lost it was, I went to it, at William Hall, the Women's Democrat Caucus elected Reverend Donald, now Donnie Anderson, to be the head of the Women's Caucus, because as a 70-year-old guy, he started wearing a dress like Mrs. Doubtfire and wearing his hair in a ponytail. And it even goes to, like, I don't get this whole drag queen story hour thing. Like, how is that normal? Why does that have to be okay? These people, they're delusional, right? Like, we think it'd be healthy for young children to go to a library on a Saturday, and they're 5 and 6 years old, and we think it'd be really healthy and productive and inclusive if they sit and listen to a 50-year-old man in a dress read them a story. How is that in any way inclusive or healthy? It's not. But they are wrapped in it, and they're willing to fight on it big time. All right, folks, it's 1:59. You've been listening to The Real News. Now, we will be doing Road Patrol Live later. It's a beautiful Tuesday. Don't forget, if you're listening to the radio, coming up at 2 o'clock, you're going to hear the 2 o'clock news. We'll be back on the radio tomorrow at 11. But meanwhile, make sure you visit the website, depetro.com, if you want to get in touch with me. All of our links to our social media platforms. You've been listening to The Real News. Stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news.